when you're in that room with him and Greg Olson. Gino can be a blessing to coaches, and I can attest to you to that. I think Gino's special.
Man.
Okay.
Here's a stat that will make you say, gee, yes, about Gino. Most wins in the last 3 seasons.
Where's Bruce Guy Purdy? Didn't quite make it.
Well,
Mahomes,
remember,
Hurts,
he only
Allen.
played half of his first season.
Goff, Lamar, Gino. Bro,
No.
are you ready
First
to
of
join?
all, Chip, slow down. A blessing. What was? I wish I had written down a special.
Yeah.
A second coach on the field.
No, in the room.
In the room. A blessing. Like, slow down, Chip. All right. No. As in Gino. I'm not jumping on the bandwagon.
Okay.
I like Gino. I'm glad he's resurrected.
don't.
You've obviously
like
liked
Gino.
Because I have to say he's awesome.
No,
Because he's resurrected his career,
Led the league in
become a
completion
top
percentage.
half of the league quarterback.
Maybe
I
top
like
10.
Gino. No, because here's the deal.
Okay.
The guy you always bludgeon. Look at his numbers last year without his weapons compared to Gino. Gino had Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Yeah.
He had DK Metcalf all year. Purdy's out there playing with his backups and still had better numbers across the board except for completion percentage.
and your beloved record is not on there.
Yeah, but that's the team. I can't put that all on one guy. So I'm just saying, I mean, we love Gino on this show, and you rip Purdy, yet Purdy at his worst.
I was not.
At his worst hour was better than
When
Gino.
did I? I'm not ripping Purdy. I don't.
Oh, you never rip Purdy.
I wasn't going to talk about Brock Purdy here.
Beyond that, Nick, I mean, I don't get your love, well, not love, but your affinity for the Raiders.
Well,
now.
I think
Pete Carroll's not immune to losing, all right? And Gino is good, but not great. And I think they are, at best, the third best team in their division.
Why can they not be better than the Chargers?
Because I think the Chargers both have really good coaches.
Yes.
The Chargers, I think their quarterback is better. I think you would agree with that.
Maybe. I mean, I think the Chargers at quarterback is far more talented. There is no question about it. But
He's put up numbers Gino can only dream of.
I understand that, yet Gino has, despite not putting up those types of numbers, we don't think of the worst moments of Gino's career being the biggest moments of his career like we do for Herbert. But I also think that the Raiders, so here's the deal. I am looking at the Raiders. There is a schedule component, which is a last place schedule, which is extra beneficial in the AFC West because your divisional games are so hard to begin with. So we can play the same game that we play with the Niners as far as, all right, the divisional games are what they are. Everybody plays them. And then they have, compared to everyone else in the division, the most fortuitous schedule. They also, I think, were bottom 3 in the league at 3 wildly important spots. Head coach, and they got a guy who might be a Hall of Famer one day. Quarterback, and they got a guy who the last few years has been fringe top 10. And offensive coordinator, the guy you just heard talking, they went from Luke Getsy to Chip Kelly, who Chip Kelly, we can question him as an NFL head coach, even though he actually was oddly fine.
Early on,
and maybe a little too innovative in certain ways, whatever it is.
Ben Johnson.
But maybe a little bit. But his offense, but he's obviously a better designer of offense. And they added the player in this draft most likely to be an All-Pro as a rookie in Ashton Genty, because we've seen that from running backs instantly come on. So I think the Raiders, when you go from awful quarterback to good, awful head coach situation to good, awful coordinator situation to good, and then have a soft schedule and add that guy, you can win 10 games.
Yeah, you're not going from awful to good. You're going from awful to great, quite frankly. And the problem with Chip Kelly, and we've talked about this before, it wasn't his actual X's and O's aspect of coaching. It was everything else. He was kind of like a poor leader. He did not do a good enough job of understanding that there's a difference between college athletes and NFL athletes. coaching boys and coaching men. Like he failed at that, which is fine. It was his first time, and he's understood that, and he's not the head coach here. He gets to just be the coordinator. He gets to just focus on what needs to be done, and he has the guiding hand of Pete Carroll, an awesome coach that if anything ever does get a little squirrely, if any of Chip Kelly's demons come back to haunt him, which I don't think they will, Pete Carroll's right there to be like, no, don't worry about that. Let's focus on this. And then boom, I think it's going to be very collaborative, which from my viewpoint will make it very successful. And you could say fringe top 10, but like PFF has Geno Smith as top 10 and has ranked him as like a top 6 passer. So there's a lot to like here, and you are adding in Ashton Jeanty. You're adding a great defensive head coach. I mean, you're improving both sides of the ball. You're improving both sides of the ball coaching wise. You're improving the most important position, the quarterback, and you already have an elite like passing weapon, a receiving weapon to utilize, to exploit, to execute. And now you have an elite running game weapon that you get to now utilize, execute, exploit. I mean, what else? What else? I mean, like, sometimes we like to have these conversations to back ourselves into a corner. Where the whole thing is like, so-and-so more likely to miss the playoffs or win the Super Bowl. And I can kind of scoff at some of those takes and some of those segments that they have, but I get it. It's fun to sometimes back yourself into a corner. But this whole idea that this Raiders team can't be a good team, like if you want to back us into a corner, if you want to back the Raiders into a corner, then be like, can they win the division, or can they, make it to the AFC Championship game or something, or miss the playoffs? Because if this team is going to be a really good team. That's all I'm prepared to say right now, is that they're going to be a really good team. I'm not going to tell you that I think they're going to win the division. I'm not going to tell you that I think that they're going to, host the AFC Championship game, right? Like I'm just not going to do that. But if you can't even concede that this is going to be a really, really good team, that they're going to be contending within, be in the playoff hunt. And when I say that, I don't mean that as kind of just like a loose, like, yeah, they're in the playoff hunt. I mean, like, no. Like, truly in the playoff hunt. Like, they are truly right there. This is not kind of like, yeah, well, everyone starts with an 0-0 record. Like, that's not what I'm going with. It's like, no, this team is going to be really, really good. And the way in which they've lost games in the past are not going to be how they're going to lose games in the present. And in fact, some of the ways that they lost games with the quarterback situation, with the coaching staff, they'll now be able to flip the script and do it to other teams. The things that were done to them. So, I mean, like, even if everything just stayed identical and you just added Geno, that would change everything. Even if you kept everything the same as last year and don't have Geno, you just added Chip Kelly, everything would be different. If you just didn't add Chip Kelly and didn't add Geno and just added Pete Carroll, like each little variable that we could change here, if everything else was the same, it would be light years different. And now you're adding 4 massive components when it really comes down to it. Ashton Jeanty, Chip Kelly, Pete Carroll, Geno Smith. Those are 4 massive pieces. When you go to any team and say, hey, you weren't very good last year for a ton of reasons. We're going to improve your quarterback. We're going to improve your offensive coach. We're going to improve your defensive coach. And we're going to give you a truly special offensive weapon. I'm not even going to tell you whether it's passing, receiving, O-line, whatever it may be. It's just going to significantly help your offense. Will you be a better team than you were last year? Yes or no? The answer will always be yes. Will always be yes. Will always be yes. Unless you brought in 4 insanely, wildly, ready to explode personalities where you're like, I don't know, how's this going to work? Geno Smith is kind of a loose cannon, and now he's in Vegas, and Ashton Jeanty, man, the dude's got some behavior issues, and Pete Carroll, like, yeah, he's had a lot of success, but the dude is weird. Like, then I could say, yeah, we got to see how this all fits together. I'm not going to say that. Geno Smith is an absolute grown-up. By all accounts, Ashton Genty is a grown-up. Pete Carroll, the dude's a grandfather. I mean, like, he's experiences something that he has. So, I don't know. I would be a little bit more concerned if there was no Pete Carroll, or like an equivalent of a Pete Carroll being the coach, being like the defensive coordinator, and you had Chip Kelly be the offensive, be like the head coach. Then I could understand. Then I could be like, yeah, I believe he's grown. I believe he's evolved. I believe he learned from his mistakes in the past, but we don't really know. We kind of have to wait and see. Is he going to get a little bit too much of this and a little bit too much of that? That's all protected because of Pete Carroll. That's the beauty of this. That is the absolute beauty. It's very similar to what the Washington Commanders did with Cliff Kingsbury. Now, I think Cliff Kingsbury was scapegoated, but I think it's fair to say, was he the best full-on head coach? I think that's fair to, maybe question that a little bit, that he wasn't ready to be the true head coach yet. But I didn't doubt his offensive coordinating abilities and his offensive mind. And he didn't have to worry about anything else. Dan Quinn had already proven that he knows how to do that, just like Pete Carroll has. So that's the beauty of it. It really is. It's very complimentary here. Very complimentary. And so now you have two coaching staffs, two separate sides of the ball, obviously, that have a ton of experience. A lot of depth there. And you have the players that can execute the vision of said coaches. So, I mean, it feels kind of straightforward to me. I don't see it as a bandwagon. I don't see it as extra hype. I don't see it as ridiculous. I just see it as logically, I just see it as logical, honestly. I mean, it just seems kind of straightforward to me. If I go through the schedule, let's just leave the division games out of it. Division games can always get crazy. Let's just look at the more basic games, okay? When they play the Patriots, do the Raiders have a true chance to win? Yes or no? Yes. When they play the Colts, do they have a true chance to win? Yes or no? Yes. When they play the Titans, do they have a true chance to win? Yes or no? Yes. The Jaguars? Yes. The Cowboys? Yes. The Browns? Yes. The Giants? Yes. The Texans? Yes. I mean, that's the answer right there. Even if you want to say, they're going to lose to the Commanders and the Chargers, whatever. Like I said, that's why I'm leaving those games out. The Eagles, reigning Super Bowl champions. Let's leave that out. There's so many games where you're like, yeah, man, you are absolutely in a position to win and quite frankly should win. Game 1, week 1 against the Patriots, you should win that game. I'm high on the Patriots and I think they'll be a lot better of a team, but they got a lot that they kind of got to work on, and they do have a very young quarterback. I think the advantage goes to the Raiders, mainly because you actually have an experienced veteran quarterback in Geno Smith. The Colts, I mean, maybe they put it all together. The Titans, I'm excited to see what Cam can do, but again, this is now the Raiders will now have a lot of veteran roots here. Veteran coaches, veteran quarterback. My whole rant already is I'm going to believe in them. The Jags, sure. But it's just they're in these games. Combine that with even when they haven't been a great team, they've still been able to find ways to be trouble for other great teams. The Chiefs, the Ravens. They've found themselves in situations where you're like, wow, they're pulling this off right now. So we're going to imagine that they're going to be even better now. And yet they're suddenly now not going to be able to still compete with the Chargers, Broncos, and Chiefs. That doesn't logically make sense. So, yeah. I mean, doubt at your own risk. I understand skepticism. I talk about this all the time. I understand skepticism. But when I see takes like this, I don't see it as skepticism. I see it as doubt. That's how I perceive it. And doubting does not make any sense to me, quite frankly. So yeah. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? about the Las Vegas Raiders. Are you ready to jump on the bandwagon? How great do you think the Raiders will or can be? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.